We live in a society which constantly supports political correct statements, refers to all uniformed people as heroes, and demands that nature moves itself to the back of the line when discussing co-ed dorms or military service. I have sailed some of the 7 seas, ice-road trucked across the frozen Arctic Ocean, helped dam mighty rivers for hydro, assisted in sucking oil out of the ground and burying some of the long ribbons of steel used to transport that energy, watched golden sunsets across fields of waving yellow grain, breathed in the tantalizing aroma of fresh-turned soil that we were readjusting to make way for major highways, plus helped establish a coal field where a beautiful town grew out of British Columbia's northern wilderness. And in all this, I met a few giants, many respectable, hard-working people, and a good number of worms. I did meet 1 or 2 heroes, and one especially. Didn't really realize it at the time, so I don't remember his name. Vaguely retain an image of him in my mind, but over the years, his simplicity of morals, his dignity of love, his devotion to greater glory has never faded nor diminished in my tiny book of good examples to follow. He and I were young men in the Canadian Navy. I was single and in my late teens. He was in his early 20s, recently married, with a small child waiting at home. Just after the new year, our ship slipped its mooring and headed for Europe, beginning a 3-month excursion. During that trip, he seldom came up on my radar screen, but whenever he did, it always followed the same pattern. We would be in a foreign port, or arriving at one, when some of the men, and quite a few of them married, would be making comments to him about his wife never knowing if he sowed a few wild oats. His response was always the same. I did not marry someone I want to hurt. I married a woman I want to love, and have a child who needs to be proud of his dad. On our trip home, sickbay was a busy place, because some of the married men were receiving shots to rid them of a transferable disease before they got home. You know, so their wives wouldn't know. If one of those men had died on that excursion, the country would have flown flags at half-mast and made statements about Canada having lost a hero. That wasn't how I seen those men. My life's experiences are the reasons why I am dead against calling people in uniform heroes. I was one, and I know them well by their behavior, or calling all members of government honorable. I have worked with them and seen their code of ethics, and in some it wasn't that impressive. These terms may well fit them, but it should not be applied until all proof shows that that is what they are. And the biggest part of the proof should be in showing that they were heroes to their families first. They were honorable to their oath of love first. Dignity of action in the world begins at home. In the meantime, those words, those misleading homages, encourage society to protect the very group of people who are often mismanaging the world, and stop society from protecting itself from those misguiding people. Example. One thing this group has done is remove prayer from schools. Let's look again at that young man in the Navy. He was not following some government ruling. He was following something greater than a man-made law. He was following his conscience and his heart. Where best to study if one wants to improve the love in their heart or to strengthen their conscience? Is it not in prayer and meditation? To counteract this misleading group, we of society need safety valves. And one safety valve that we need is the Barnes theory of voting with its value vote ballots. What would be wrong with schools praying the prayers of all faiths? Maybe September is devoted to one belief and October to another, and so on. 2 things may happen. Common understanding and acceptance among the children, plus reasonable guidelines to help steer their minds. If the Barnes theory of voting with its value vote ballots were in use, the people could suggest this factor. Oh, don't worry, we can look after the atheist families. They would be excluded if they wanted. But maybe, when understanding and tolerance begin to rear its head, they may want to partake. Nothing will stop a Timothy McVeigh if that person has their mind made up and bent on evil. But by giving safety valves to the people, maybe we can build an environment that will produce fewer McVeighs. If we did have a safety valve available, and if through that safety valve we found common ground for all to stand on, then that common ground would become a symbol of white pride and yellow pride and black pride and brown pride, and just a damn good thing. Because of its inherent power struggle mentality. We do not seem able to do it with our present system, so let's change it. Not to one that produces chaos, but to one that encourages participation, respect for people, concern for Mother Earth, and one which protects democracy. Let's change to one that trusts you, and you, and you. Let's change to the Barnes theory of voting with its value vote ballots. Just because someone wears an expensive three-piece suit, or a government uniform, or won the right to represent us, or holds a position of power like a judge, does not mean that that person is the one to follow. We had a judge in our town go to jail for abusing young street girls. Neither the suit nor the uniform is a reason to throw away your own input, to throw away your need to be involved. Protect tomorrow by giving yourself the ability to have input today. Thank you for listening. Have yourselves a great day. Bill Barnes, developer of the Barnes theory of voting and designer of the value vote ballot. Let's work together and restore democracy.